Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to the BJJ Brick Podcast. This is episode 257. It's our extra episode of the month. I had the privilege of interviewing my coach, Fernando Halfeld. He's the head coach and owner of Brazilian top team Lake Jackson. I'm on the line today with my good buddies Gary and Byron. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. We're ready for an extra episode. This is going to be a good time.
Yep. These are always fun to see what Joe comes up with, and I think it's going to be exciting to listen to him interview his own coach. I think this will be an episode that you could, kind of peek into your relationship with your coach and also learn like basic jiu-jitsu stuff and his thoughts about different topics on the mat.
Yeah, it was a great interview. So happy to be able to share it with our listeners. On our extra episode, we do things a little bit different. We do not discuss an article. We do a few things different, but we have a tip of the week. We need to change our notes.
Tip of the month. Tip
of the month. We do this every month. And so we have a tip of the month. I saw a question on Facebook. Guy says, I'm going to be on a ship for 90 days. How can I continue to progress or at least maintain my status in jiu-jitsu while I'm on the boat? And I thought I could relate to that. I've spent some time training while working offshore. And I think everybody will have a period of time in their jiu-jitsu, and probably more than one, where they're away from the gym for a month or two, whether they're traveling for business, maybe the school in their town closes down and they're waiting for a new one to open up. Whatever the case may be, I think everybody will find themselves in this position once or twice. So Gary, Byron, I've got a few ideas, and I'm curious to hear what yours might be. One of the first things I would say is to maintain your mobility. It's more than just flexibility, but do exercises like bridges, shrimps, lay on your back and rotate your feet, to keep your hips loosened up. Do wrestlers sit-outs, any of those movements that you use routinely while you're doing jiu-jitsu that you can do by yourself. I would strongly encourage you to do those. Get yourself a little mat. All you need is 4x6, 4x8, just enough so you can move around on some padded surface. And that'd be my main tip. And I'd throw in there to watch video and do visualization and keep your cardio up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's definitely some great idea right there, Joe. Staying strong, staying flexible. One thing I like to do, which I think would be a good idea, especially in a small area of a ship, is, keep up your strength a little bit. And one little quick workout I do sometimes, and actually I did it here this morning, as I'm away on vacation right now, is I like to start with 20 push-ups. I do 20 either squats or squat jumps, and then 20 sit-ups. And then I nonstop, I go 19, 19, 19, 18, 18, 18, 17, 17, 17, all the way down to 1. And if you're feeling really crazy, go from 1 back up to 20. I think it's a great little exercise or a great little workout that doesn't take a lot of space, will keep your heart rate up, will keep your tris and your triceps and your chest strong, will keep your core strong, will keep your legs strong, and keep your cardio up a little bit there too. So that's one thing I always do when don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot of space.
Yeah. If you could throw in a few pull-ups in that routine, you would really cover every muscle in your body pretty much. So I like that, Gary. Thanks.
You're welcome, sir.
And what Gary, he does the letdowns where you start up all the way with your chin above the bar, and then you drop it slowly, often rapidly, to the ground.
Well, actually, I don't do push-ups. I do earth downs. When you're as strong as me, we don't push ourselves up. We push the earth down.
That's true.
I thought I felt some movement in the earth this morning, Gary.
Is it different on a ship? Are you boat downs?
Yeah, I guess boat downs.
Actually, push-ups on a ship are awesome. It's really dynamic because sometimes the boat drops out from underneath you and one push-up is really easy, and the next time the boat comes up and it's really hard. So It's really interesting to do push-ups and pull-ups on a ship.
Yeah, definitely probably works your core a lot and makes everything a little different.
Get those stabilizer muscles engaged. I think the overall thing here, I got to throw a side thing with the ship. Your diet will be, for a guy like me, probably seasick for the first couple of days. I'll probably lose a few pounds. But the main thing you're doing on this, if you're not able to train for an extended period of time, is to do something. Something is better than nothing. And that way, when you can get back, you're excited to get back. You're not feeling like you've just done nothing and lost ground as far as like the physical stuff even. You feel, I'm still in shape. Yeah, maybe my jiu-jitsu may be a little bit dusty, but I still maintained some fitness. Or even, maybe you've increased it a little bit by doing things a little differently. But something is better than nothing in a situation where you aren't able to train. If you could recruit a buddy, if you could, hey, I want to teach us a little bit of jiu-jitsu. Let's work on some standing guillotines, or I don't know what you would do on a ship.
You could pummel.
You could pummel.
Pummeling.
Work on your hugging.
Arm drags.
Yeah, I mean, just get creative with it. And I don't know how internet access is like, but download some videos onto YouTube or a whole bunch of podcasts onto your tablet or something, and just that we can keep up with your education as far as that goes, and try to learn a few things while you're out there, and just try to maintain.
Yeah, maybe even go old school if you don't have good internet access. Always books. Books aren't as popular as they were years ago, but I know I've got a whole library of jiu-jitsu books that it would be great to revisit.
Or an audiobook, Gary.
Oh yeah, an audiobook. Good segue, Byron.
Yeah, where could they find one of those? Well,
we've got a few of them. If you're new to jiu-jitsu, I want to help you avoid some of the mistakes I made when I was new to jiu-jitsu, and really some of the common things, and really make this journey easier for you. Jiu-jitsu is not an easy journey, but it would definitely make it more difficult for ourselves from time to time. And that's really what this audiobook is. Your first year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's $11.99. It's about 2.5 hours long. And it's me kind of walking you through, tying your belt for you, getting you all ready to train, and getting you through that first year successfully. Being the best you could be at the end of that year and enjoying the process are really some of my big goals with this. If at the end of the year you hate jiu-jitsu, that's not a good year. Like, you're going to quit. At the end of the year, you're terrible at jiu-jitsu and you're not where you should be. That's also not the most productive use of your time. But really, the audiobook is designed for those new grapplers who are either looking into it or have a few months to 6 months and are like needing a little bit of help. That's what I'm here for with this audiobook. Check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes, and I'd love to help you. If you need help after that, send me an email, bjjbrick@gmail.com. Still want you on the mats training, guys. Joe, what do we have for the interview?
Excited to bring my coach, Fernando Halfeld, to the show. I'd like to welcome him, and let's get to it.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
He once wrist-locked an opponent and broke the guy's back. He rolls no-gi because he grips the skin better anyways. Cro-Magnon Man started walking upright after he got double underhooks on him.
Some say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I have choked all my friends, and my enemies are nowhere to be found. Let the sweat times roll, my friends.
Okay, I'd like to welcome my coach, Fernando Halfeld, to the show. Fernando's a black belt in the BTT organization. Fernando, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man.
Good.
Doing great.
Good. Thanks for coming over and recording this episode with us.
Sure.
So give us a brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about how you started in jiu-jitsu and what training was like when you were first doing jiu-jitsu.
I started jiu-jitsu pretty young. I was 9 years old when I started. Jiu-jitsu was not popular back then. It didn't have a good image either. So I started training jiu-jitsu in my neighborhood in a Carson Gracie affiliation with Ricardo Oliveira. His nickname is Passarinho, Little Bird.
Little Bird? Okay.
Yeah. And it was in a garage with like only adults, and it was really cool, it was a really good time that I had with those guys there, and they were like super nice with me. They helped me a lot, and they made me feel good, important at the gym, so it was a good environment, and I had a lot of good role models there, and I have guys from that time that we're still friends right now.
Awesome. And you were the only kid in there, the smallest guy?
I was the only kid until I moved to Brazilian top team, like when I was 14 years old.
Okay, so you trained about 5 years in a garage with just adults?
Only adults.
Yep. And do you think that as you've progressed further in jiu-jitsu, gotten older, do you think that, did you learn some lessons from that? Do you think that you gained some toughness? How would you rate that experience?
Yeah, definitely. The first kid that I fought in my life was in a tournament. So it was like a really different experience for me, and it was a lot easier, you know, like when I was expecting something a lot stronger and, you know, a lot heavier than that.
Right. Awesome. So in previous conversations, you've told me you were a little bit of a tough guy at school, and that changed a little bit after you started doing jiu-jitsu. What do you think it is about jiu-jitsu that maybe changed your behavior or the way that you interacted with the other kids at school?
I think like it gave me, first you go there and you fight for real, you know, like a full training, like a round of sparring. It's a lot intense,
right? You
know, so when you go to the gym, I think first you leave all that on the mat.
So you get rid of all your aggression and all your extra energy.
Yes, yeah. You know, so like you're not looking for that outside the mat anymore, and gives you a lot of respect. You know, like you see like how certain guys doesn't look good and how good they can be in jiu-jitsu and how dangerous they can be. So you start like to respect more people, and you don't really want to use your skills against people that doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah, that is funny. When you go to a jiu-jitsu gym, there's some guys that are pretty fit, but most of the guys don't look scary. If you saw them on the street in regular clothes, you wouldn't know that they could break your arm, you know?
Yeah, no, I used to say that I choose to fight someone that seems strong than someone that looks nerd in
right.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's the nerdy guys that they can surprise you sometimes. So when you went to top team at, you said 15?
I was 14.
14,
yeah,
so 14. Just prior to getting your blue belt.
I was yellow belt back then.
Okay. What were you like as a blue belt as far as what game did you play, and maybe how did you do in competitions?
When I was a kid, I trained most of my life with Bernardo Faria, Leonardo Seggioro, that are two guys that made half guard know it, and our two guys are like, there's a lot of half guard, and in our school a lot of people do a lot of half guard too, so that was like a game there here, like most part of me, like growing up when I was a kid. And it was back then half guard would be even more effective, because back then people would not know a lot about it.
Right. Yeah. Anytime you hit somebody with something they're unfamiliar with, then you've got the upper hand. What kind of techniques did you like from there? Did you finish from the bottom, or did you sweep and finish from the top?
I would like use the half guard. At first, I would use most to get on top, get a top position, and then work on my top game. Okay. And then like towards when I started like getting adult division, you know, like the guys was a little stronger, and I didn't want to be like smash there like for too long, and also like try and go from there to a better spot, you know, than like in someone's guard. It was when I started like to open up more my game and look for other things. It was when I started like look for more submissions from there, like back takes.
Right. Do you still play a lot of half guard?
Yes, it's my strong game, I would say it. But I I use it, but I try to use other games, like use other guards. I feel it always ends up back to half guard.
Yeah. I say I play a lot of half guard by default. It's not that I try to go there all the time, but I end up there a lot. Tell me about the transition from Brazil to America. When did you come? Where did you stay? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I came to U.S. for my first time when I was 16. I don't know if I ever told you that. And I lived with Caetera for a month before the Worlds, and was even the Worlds that he won his first black belt title. I could hang out with Nate Diaz at the gym there in California. So I saw how Kyle would leave and how he would be going from one school to another and teaching a lot of jiu-jitsu and doing that all day, every day. It was when my dream started. So I worked hard for 8 years, coming here and trying to improve my English. And then I finally moved here 3 years ago. And I first lived for a while with Diego Gamonal from Brazilian top team San Antonio. And man, it was a good journey, from there to here. I live at the gym for a little while, and I had help from a lot of good people that got put on my path, that made things a lot easier. Jason Wilson and Jolie Wilson, they brought me then to their house when I was living at the gym. Ryan Summer in San Antonio, and the gym has no AC. So they took me to their house and they gave me a bedroom to stay for a month before I moved to where I am right now.
Awesome. Yeah, the jiu-jitsu community is awesome. I've never really been anywhere that I didn't feel welcome within the jiu-jitsu community. Awesome. So when you were learning English, what was your methodology? Did you take classes or do a Rosetta Stone, or how did you develop your English?
With jiu-jitsu, because I do jiu-jitsu, I think, and I can see that our brain, it's really impressive. We're a lot smarter than we think we are, and it's really interesting how it works. So I thought if all that I see it's English, I'm gonna end up learning English.
Yeah, I have connected with a lot of Brazilians on social media. I worked in Brazil for a couple of years and know a lot of Brazilians. And one thing unique about you is I never see you posting anything on social media in Portuguese. I never hear you speak Portuguese. And I think that probably is a key, is that you just committed all out to learning English.
Yes. That's... I love people. I love to hang out, and I thought if I want to live in here, I want to have friends from here, and I want to be able to go and have fun with them, hang out with them, not be stressed just trying to talk to them, communicate with them. But yeah, it's all about just everything in English, since I moved here, everything that I write down is English, that I read is in English. I read a lot of books. And now that I feel my English, it's better that I started to listen Brazilian musics, because until then I would listen just English, watch movies only English, even not understanding a word at the movie.
Right. Yeah, when I worked in Brazil, I got some movies down there, and I would watch the movie through one time in English with Portuguese subtitles, and then I'd watch it through the next time in Portuguese with English subtitles. I watched a couple of movies 50 times.
My thing would try to watch movies that I already watch it.
Yeah, so you're familiar with the plot.
Yeah,
easier to figure it out. So you mentioned reading. That was one thing that one of the first things I noticed when you took over the gym and it was still in Angleton is that you set up a library. You had a bookshelf with some books on it. So you've been a pretty big reader. What are some books that you've read that have made an impression on you?
Yeah, all done. I like to read a lot, but like I spoke with my wife recently, it taking me a little while to read, and I think read is something really important that we all need to put like time on it. If you don't like it, you should start like it. And so I try don't waste time with books, so I try to like pick a book that it really gonna add a lot of stuff to me. My wife can read like a big book in 2 days and take me maybe 4 months.
So you want to pick the right book.
So I want to pick the right book. The books that I read here that they made a lot of difference in my life, and it was like Godfather Battles was an incredible book. The Alchemist, it's a Brazilian writer, but I read this in English. A friend from here gave me as a birthday present. It's a beautiful story and has a lot about life there. And the last one that I read was Unshakable Trust.
Okay, awesome. Yep. Yeah, if you're listening and you don't read, consider picking it up. It adds a lot of value.
And those are good books. You won't waste your time.
Awesome. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the classes that you have at your school. You've got a good kids program, so let's talk about kids jiu-jitsu in general. Tell me a little bit about the culture that you try and promote in the kids class and how you structure a class. If I were bringing my kid in to try a class, what would it look like?
I teach jiu-jitsu because I think jiu-jitsu is the best thing in the world. And I really believe jiu-jitsu can change the world. So I plan a lot of my classes, we train really smart from like the smallest kids, 5 years old, until the adults, because I don't want to waste any time.
Right.
The kids, I have even more attention, and I want to work even more things with them, because I think it's not just about the fight aspect, but the respect, the discipline, and the love for each other, and other skills,
So you're trying to develop the whole person and not just a fighter.
Not just a fighter, yeah, exactly. And for sure, we do like an hour class with the kids, and it's an hour improving jiu-jitsu, but I try to not miss those other things.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, as an influencer in the children's life, you have an opportunity to remind them to put the video game console away for a little bit and go outside and play and get some fresh air and to be respectful of their parents and all those other things.
Yes. We heard like a lot of good feedbacks, like from kids, parents. You can see how much change, like since they came to the gym.
Right, yeah.
They're awesome. Like I have the best kids in the world, but they were not like that when they came to me.
Right, yep. So just like it helped you settle down at school and not get in trouble, and a lot of that has to do with you're developing their confidence and their awareness, and so yeah, that's awesome. And we talked before about the hierarchy of positions. Closed guard is kind of basic where it starts, and then side control's better and mounts even better, the back's better, and you make sure that no positions are missed, right?
Yes, we have a program that runs every month, and we make sure we see everything from every position. I think, man, jiu-jitsu is awesome, and one of the things in jiu-jitsu that's awesome is because it doesn't have like an end. So I wanted my students to learn everything about jiu-jitsu, and I wanted them to know that all those things exist. For sure they're gonna have to go by their own, and do some researches to find more stuff. But I wanted to introduce everything in jiu-jitsu for that, and I make sure we take a look at all that.
So if I come to your class 8 or 10 days a month, and they're just random days, after 3 or 4 months, I will have inevitably seen every position, right?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, awesome. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about bully-proofing kids. What are some of the things that you teach? how do you make sure these kids are going to be able to go to school and not get bullied?
Like through jiu-jitsu, I show my kids how good they are, and I think that's something that affects even the adults at the gym. You know, when you see where you're capable to it, and you build that confidence, like people won't mess with you. You know, and I think like the confidence, and also the confidence, it's built like naturally every day at the gym. You know, like training and like fighting each other, and I think that's the best weapon against bullying. Yeah,
I think sometimes, not necessarily in bullying, but in just general fighting situations in school, the kid that does not initiate the fight still contributes to it happening because they feel they have something to prove. You know, if you come up to me and say, I'm tougher than you, I can kick your ass, if I feel threatened by that and I have to prove you wrong, then I'm going to fight you. Yeah. But if I know deep in my heart, you could never whoop me, then there's no reason to have to fight.
Exactly. Yeah. You avoid the fight you start. It's not that the kid gonna learn how to fight and gonna fight some other kid because they're bullying him. No, it won't even get on that point.
Right. Yeah, if you're 9 years old and you're constantly training with 11 and 12-year-olds and having hard sparring matches all the time, another 9-year-old's not going to threaten you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And I try, like, jiu-jitsu has a lot of jiu-jitsu competition, right? And that has, like, a lot of different techniques. And when I teach my kids, even the adults, I try to look for techniques that are more effective, like in a street fight situation.
Right.
So I tried, while they were there, like drilling and like doing a specific train, I'm really thinking in things that could happen with them, and I want to put on those situations because I want to make sure they're ready if they have to fight.
Right. Yep. That's good. And techniques like inverted guards and barambolos are useful, but they wouldn't be the first thing you started with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to be the main thing that you teach it.
No.
Yeah.
For the adults, for sure, I would teach because, like, we have competitors, and like I say, I wanted my students get to know everything. But with the kids, we have enough time, like, I will teach them that one day, like, for sure they see at the gym, like, but it's just not my folks. My folks, it's make sure they can protect themselves.
Yep, awesome. Let's talk real quick before we move on from kids about how you break down your classes as far as the ages and what you would consider the right age for kids to start in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I have kids from 5 to 8 years old, from 9 to 11, and 12 and older, and then my adults class. And for me, like, the kids should start training jiu-jitsu, the best age would be like 5 years old. I tried younger than that. It has schools that teach younger than that, but it's a different class. It's more games, and try to like teach the kid coordination, like really basic stuff. So I don't want to do those classes yet. I don't know, maybe in the future,
Do you think with the younger kids, the 3 and 4 year olds, is it an issue of they can't do some of the things you're trying to teach them, or is it a safety issue? Do you think there's a chance they get hurt younger, or?
No, it's more like it takes concentration.
They just don't have that yet.
And they don't have that yet. Okay. Like you see, like I had kids 4 years old that came to the gym, and if they want to train, I let they try. And I have kids 4 years old that they start training with me, but because they really want to and they had all that concentration, and I had kids that went there and they could not like sit and watch it or like follow the class.
Right. Okay. So we talked before, and you said that as far as you're concerned, once they start, they might as well start competing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I think competition is a super cool thing about jiu-jitsu and allows everyone to compete, like kids, adults, women's. I tell my students, it's a fair match. You're going to go there and you're going to have a fair match. You're going to fight people for skills, your belt, your age, your weight. And you develop things in competition that you just develop in competitions.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Do you have any advice for parents when they're enrolling their kids in class and their kids are going to competitions? What advice would you have for parents?
I think it's really cool that here in the US that the parents get like so involved with the sport and they incentivated their kids like so much. But like if you want to, for the parents, if they want to get more involved and be able to help the kid, be able to say something, sign up at the school and start learning jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, it's more complex than you think. It's not like just stuff that you see like in professional wrestling or like UFC, has some illegal movements, like I have kids that show up at the gym doing illegal movements that their dad taught them that. And it is illegal for a reason. It is illegal because that movement that you just taught the kid, it can break like a cervical.
So you're talking about like certain kind of neck cranks or foot locks or something?
Yes, and it's for their sake. It has a reason, but like that's why we're the coach, because we know that, right. So like when you try to teach things that you don't know, you end up like teaching things that can be like really bad.
Right.
I have kids that lost tournaments because they did something that I never showed them before, but they learn in their house.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super cool, but like join the school and start training and learn, help the kid in the house. But if you're in class, or if you're on a tournament, like respect the coach, and like don't try to over coach sons,
Have you ever had any issues with parents behaving badly? I mean, I've seen where parents are screaming at refs and berating their kids for poor performance. Have you ever run into that?
I have a couple.
Yeah. You just pull the parent aside and talk to them, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, every once in a while, like somebody get like a little excited, and they're really respectful after like I ask them like to not be coaching, just on the side and just watch it. They're cool and
perfect. So you've got great kids programs. It's growing by leaps and bounds. I'm excited to watch it. Something else I know you do fairly regularly is you offer self-defense seminars in town. I know you've got one coming up for a women's self-defense seminar coming up. So tell me a little bit about what a woman's self-defense seminar class looks like when you run it.
So I don't believe you can go on the self-defense class and for like an hour or like 2 hours or 3 hours, or like a whole day, and be ready to protect yourself. It's something that you got to build every day, and how long it takes to something happen, more prepared you're going to be for that situation. And man, it's better for you to have like 1% of chance than have like no chance to like protect yourself, like to fight back. But so I really try to show the women's like techniques and bring some like real situations that can happen. Of course I try to, on that hour that I have with them, usually I try to prepare them as much as I can, like with the best techniques that I think they should be learning at that moment. But it's more an introduction, like I really want the women to see how hard can be to protect yourself if you don't know,
Right.
and how simple it can be if you know jiu-jitsu, you know. And like we have like them like in mount position for them trying to escape, and they just struggle, and it's super hard if you don't know how to get someone off you. But when you know that you gotta just block one side and like bump your hip and you're out, you know. And even more against people that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, it's even more effective.
Yeah. Yeah, against somebody that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, escaping the mount position is actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So, awesome. So, what would you say your success rate's been as far as having women come in the gym? I know we've got a few women that train now. Are some of those women in the gym because they went to a self-defense seminar?
No, like most of the women that come to the gym, I haven't had like a woman that came after the self-defense seminar, but I had most of the girls that came to the gym, they came like to learn self-defense, like to be able to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And now they come to our seminars, like they don't miss a woman's self-defense class.
Awesome. So the women's self-defense, I didn't really think about that. It's not just for the general community, but the students from our gym go, and it's a time that they can spend not focusing on the sport of jiu-jitsu so much, but specifically on defending themselves.
Yes. Like we have like a small cost for that, and they don't pay for that. They're like,
if they're a member,
they're
of the gym.
students, and they can come and they don't have to pay any fee. I have like women, like I say, they start like jiu-jitsu for self-defense. It's something that I really like to do it for sure. Like I watch and I take a lot of care of them, like training with guys. But every once in a while, when somebody new joins the gym, you know, somebody that's not like a ginormous person that can like Andrew, the one of my girls, like I try to get them to roll with those guys. And it's amazing. It's super cool to see what they can do with jiu-jitsu, you know, and like show them that, you know, like look how good you are. You just like choke a man. You just choke a guy.
Yep. Yeah, there's an enormous size difference between her and some of the guys in the gym. She must not weigh 100 pounds, and we've got several guys that are 250, 270.
Yes, we're getting a lot of big guys at this school.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so before we move on from this topic, at your seminars, or if somebody were to come up to you and say, I can only train a day or two a week, but I want to train for self-defense purposes, just give me a couple of techniques that you would say are very important that they should be focusing on.
The close guard. I think if I had like a chance to teach somebody like jiu-jitsu for like a short time, I would teach them how to be on the bottom. I would explain then how important it is to be on top first, even more if you don't know jiu-jitsu, but show them some base technique like close guard, you know, and how to get the person inside the close guard, and some movements from the close guard, like by the reaction of the other person, you know, some like common mistakes that people does on top when they don't know jiu-jitsu. Okay.
And teach them a sweep or two and a submission or two, and then they've got at least theirs covered there.
Yes. I always try to think what a person who doesn't know jiu-jitsu would do it from the top, and I try to like give them movements for those reactions.
Okay, perfect. So, how's Ruben Gonzalez doing, by the way? Haven't seen Ruben in a while.
He took a break now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's taking a break off jiu-jitsu. Okay. I hope seeing him soon.
Yep. Ruben is a year older than me and has been a great competitor, a great friend. So he's
won the worlds last year.
Won the worlds at purple belt. So yep, that's awesome. So it's becoming more and more common for guys like me and Ruben. We're in our 50s. Some guys don't even start until they're in their 50s. So do you have any advice for older people starting jiu-jitsu as far as making sure it's sustainable and making sure they don't get hurt? And what do you tell a 50-year-old guy that comes in as a white belt and wants to start?
Yeah, to not go to the gym trying to fight jiu-jitsu, but to go to the gym to learn jiu-jitsu, to learn those movements and not try to stop those movements. Jiu-jitsu, like you say, it's a lot about consistency, and you cannot be consistent if you're injured. Yep. And injuries happens, and I tell my students, and if you're injured, if you cannot train, if you cannot do anything, come to the gym, put your gi on and hang out on the mat, and just watch class, because it always has a way to learn jiu-jitsu, and the goal is try not to break that consistency.
Yep. Yeah, we had a student do that last week, came to the gym injured just to sort of participate in the warm-ups, and that always makes me smile because it's a smart thing to do.
Yes, I try to tell that to these students, and I stay on them, when I see they got injured, I try to keep in touch and make sure they don't disappear.
Yep. Yeah, the advice I give based on my own history being an older guy, man, when it comes to my shoulders, especially, but knees, joint locks, when my defense gets broken down, I tap. Yeah, I don't wait till I'm about to actually get hurt. When somebody's arm barring me, once they get that arm straight and the thumb pointed the right direction, I just tap.
Yeah, avoid to get hurt, avoid to get injured. I tell people sometimes the best escape is just tap. If you're training, I think it's really stupid. Let yourself get injured because it's your fault.
Yeah.
That the person was going to choke you or break your arm, and you want more win than real train.
Right. Yeah, it's all about your ego's not in the right place. You don't have a healthy ego, and you got to try and prove yourself. I'm not going to tap to this 22-year-old kid.
Yeah. You got to really enjoy and go to the gym and train.
Yeah. So let's talk about tournament preparation. You've got, you said Ruben won Worlds at last year's. Jose Lopez is on fire constantly. You've got a couple of kids going to Las Vegas next month. So how do you approach the workup to a tournament for these guys as far as increasing intensity and training frequency? Just tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, we work smart all year long, and we have this consistency in our program to build our jiu-jitsu. But when it gets closer to competition, I try to make it a little bit more intense. I want to get them used to with the intensity of the fight. So I put them to roll more, and I start to tell them to all right, now when you come to train, I know other days it was fun, come here and hang out, but now we gotta be more focused when we start class and when we train. We gotta be looking more for the fight and not for the training anymore. I want to make sure everything is in the right place, that we're not forgetting anything behind. I try to work with a perfect plan. I don't want to work in a plan and just wish that goes that way for my plan to work.
Right. And I assume you start focusing them more and more on their A game and less on experimenting and trying new things right before a tournament?
Yeah. I put it down their head, now it's not time to be trying things. It's just time to show your body that's what we're going to do it.
Yeah, muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Do you, especially maybe for the adults, do you encourage your students to put a bigger focus on strength and conditioning if they're competing?
Most of my students, I'm really glad that they come to the gym. You know, like they're like a good example. All right, like for everyone. Like most of our students here, like they work like crazy shifts for hours and hours and hours, and they come to the gym after that. It's crazy. Sometimes I think they like jiu-jitsu more than I do.
Yeah, for our listeners, where we live, there's a lot of chemical plants, and a lot of the guys like work 4 days of day shifts and then 4 days of night shifts and then have 4 days off. And so their schedules are constantly rotating. And you're right, we'll have guys come in for a lunch class and they're either just getting off work or just going to work. And so it is admirable. You're right.
So I don't ask them for like any extra work outside the gym. I'm really glad that they're coming to do jiu-jitsu. But sure, if you have time for those things, it's worth it. I do, you know, like jiu-jitsu a lot about technique, but when you know jiu-jitsu, if you can be a little stronger, that's going to be like sweet, you know, it's going to be like really good. So, but it's but I tell the guys, I tell my students, if you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, you don't skip jiu-jitsu to go work out.
Right. Yep. So if you're already coming to class 4 days a week and you've got some extra time in the mornings or something, then add some strength and conditioning then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Besides that, man, jiu-jitsu, it's already like super intense, and you for sure gonna build a lot strength and endurance.
Right. And it's the right kind of strength and endurance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing's like jiu-jitsu.
Let's talk a little bit about your school, maybe if you got some advice for guys just getting into gym ownership or teaching. But first of all, for our listeners that aren't familiar with Brazilian Top Team, can you tell us a little bit about how that started and kind of how it's grown in America?
Yeah, the Brazilian Top Team, it's a really old team, MMA Jiu-Jitsu school, really old. Start from Carson Gracie students, and now it's led by Murilo Bustamante, one of the founders. And Murilo, he's a UFC champion, a BJJ world champion. It's a legend on the sport. And
is he headquartered in the U.S. or is he in Brazil?
He's in Brazil.
Okay.
In Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
But he's always here in the U.S. visiting the gyms. And it's a team that's growing a lot around the world, growing even more in the U.S. And we came here to Texas with a good team from my hometown, and we're like growing the team here, the Brazilian Top Team in Texas. So in Texas, getting a lot bigger for the past few years. And it's a really close school. We keep it close. Murilo keep us close, you know. So we're all friends. Like we know each other, and we have a lot of years with each other.
Awesome. And you opened your school. You purchased a school that was, I guess you could say it needed to be purchased. The school had been through a couple of different owners, and so you purchased the school and started Brazilian Top Team. It was initially in Angleton and then moved to Lake Jackson. But tell us a little bit about how you got into that and what your experience has been like growing the school.
It was perfect because I think it feels better when you start something like from the beginning.
Right.
And that's how I feel. You know, like when I started the gym there, I had maybe 12, 14 guys, 12, 14 students, like sign it, but I would have maybe from 0 to like 4 guys on the mat.
Yeah.
And so it was great. Like I had a lot of good lessons, you know, and I could put a lot of things in practice. You know, I could learn a lot, like in how to grow this school, and it was like a learning our learning, growing process.
Yep. And the building was cheap, which was good, but it came with its downside too. It flooded a lot. The AC didn't work half the time.
Yeah. No, I remember it was maybe in my first month here, I got like a food poisoning, and by myself, didn't know anyone, and I was really dying at that night and throwing up a lot. And I remember it started pouring rain, and then I woke up in the middle of the night, want to throw up, and when I step off the bed to go to the bathroom, I have like water like right on my shin.
That's right. There was a little apartment type area at the school that you were living in for a while, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, what is that? And I turned the light on, and the entire back of the school had water. And I spent like all night throwing up and like making sure the water would not get on the mat, like drying and mopping and vacuuming the water to like protect the mat for us to train on the next day. But it was like, I hope I don't have to do that again. But it was a good time. It was a good learning.
Yep, and just like anything else in life, if something big and good is just given to you, you don't necessarily appreciate it as much as if you started with nothing and built up.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Yeah, it could not be better. I would not change anything, not even the flood.
Awesome. And so now you've moved from Angleton, and you're located sort of central in the city of Lake Jackson, which is sort of central to the county that we live in.
Yeah.
So, yep, great location. How many classes are you holding a week at the school? How many students do you have coming to the classes?
I have about maybe from 20 to maybe almost like 30 classes, including like adults and kids.
Okay.
And I have about like 15 kids that come like in classes. And I have maybe like 20 guys that come to the mat.
Yeah, the night classes have been really well attended lately, so that's awesome. Do you have any advice for students who are just starting to teach? We talked before about Jose. He's teaching Wednesday nights, and kind of tell me a little bit about your relationship with Jose and how you manage that and how that works.
Yeah, if you want to start teach jiu-jitsu, do that for love. Do that with the purpose of like changing people's life through jiu-jitsu. Don't do that for money.
You'll be disappointed.
You're going to be disappointed. And like I taught jiu-jitsu for 7 years in Brazil for free, in a ghetto in Brazil, and the poorest ghetto from my hometown. And I saw a lot of lives being changed, and I had like pleasure in that. I had like, it was a good part of my life, being teaching and building a relationship with those kids that are now my friends. So I never done that for money, and unfortunately I need money to live. If not, I would not charge people to train jiu-jitsu. But me and Jose, like this school, it's my baby, it's something that like I created. Like we spoke before, like it was something that I started from the beginning, and I would not leave this school in anyone's hand, and I've been watching Jose, that's a great student with like awesome attendance, super loyal to me, and I start just watching him like at the end of every class, spend like a whole hour teaching the other guys and showing them movements, like going back and reviewing things that happened at the train and that day. And I saw all that love, And after I saw he's doing that was when I opened up this door for him, you know, if he would like to have a class, and he loves it. And it ended up being a good, I was not looking for it, you know, was just something that I look at him, his effort, and I wanted to give him something, you know, and I wanted him to be more part of the team, because he is an important piece at my team. So, and he's awesome. He's a great guy.
Yep, you go back to the and I'm sure he still does it, even though he's got his own class one day a week. But you go back to the subject of him mentoring students after class. Like you said, every night after class, he'd be in the middle of the mat with 2 or 3 white belts and reviewing. And you watch him, and it's obvious that he's doing it because he loves jiu-jitsu and he loves his teammates. And he's not looking for the opportunity to teach so that he can inflate his ego and, you know, look at me, I get to teach class. And yeah, he's the perfect guy for that. So how do you guys determine what he's going to teach? Do you help direct his class, or how much of it's just up to him?
He follows my program, and like what we're going to work on, like the technique of that day. Like we spoke in the beginning, like to make sure that we're gonna see everything in jiu-jitsu, you know. And he has a beginner class, so then we go on those basic movements that we spoke before too, like that you say it, takedown, close guard, side control, mount, and back control. You know, 5 things. That's all you need to know to fight someone that doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
Yep, awesome.
And so we go through this plan, but I try to let him develop his own class, you know, for sure. Like if I see something that I disagree, I don't think it's the best, I talk to him and listen what you have to say, you know. But I think it is great for the students to have 2 coaches, you know, that has the same goal, but like a different mentality.
Yeah, you can learn the same technique from 5 different instructors, and each one of them is going to have a slightly different take on it.
Yes. So Jose, look, sometimes I watch Jose and he scares me because he looks like a lot me.
Yeah, and he represents himself well as far as keeping himself in shape too. He's in his 40s, and I mean the guy rolls and looks like he's 28 years old.
Oh yeah.
So excellent role model for the other students. That reminds me, I wanted to ask you about something. I've not seen any other gyms do this, but when we train at your gym, if the technique that we're working is from closed guard, we always start with a movement before that. If we're drilling the Kimura, it'll start with our training partner doing a double leg, and then we secure the closed guard, and then we work the Kimura, or we'll start with a guard pull or something. But we never just sit down on our butt and have the other person come in our guard. If we're working on, or we might start in side control, and we'll do a hip escape, and we'll get our guard back, and then we'll work our closed guard technique. Where did you come up with that idea?
Just years of like planning, you know. I think like those ideas, like it came to me like throughout like the years, you know. I always believe that has a way to be better, faster, you know, if you do that smart. So I never stop thinking. You know, like I'm always thinking, how can we do it better? Like, what can we do different? Is there any way of training, you know, that we could do to like improve this or improve that? And I think this is a part of the muscle memory, you know, like I just want to show your body that like after that movement, that's what's going to come next.
Right.
You know, and I think it's important, you know, like for us not to see just like a isolate movement, you know, but like trainers selves, like, to be prepared for that movement after something happened. That's what we're showing us. But yeah, it came in my thoughts, like,
just from years of thinking about how to improve training.
Yes, how to improve training. I had, like I say, I taught those kids for like about 7 years in Brazil, and I would think a lot about it. Like, it was me and Thiago Diaz. They lives now in San Antonio. He's from my hometown, a black boy in my hometown, and he's another guy that like put a lot of effort on that, you know. So like, sure, we would like think and share a lot of stuff together, but I would, as a competitor, I would think a lot on myself, you know. So I would think a lot on stuff to myself, because I don't want to go through my life and had missed something that I could done to like reach my goals. So it's everything that I think is the best for me. That's what I bring up to my students.
You put a lot of thought into training smart and that kind of thing. Do you do any journaling, or do you make notes of what you think about, or?
Yeah, I write stuff down a lot, and I save all my classes. Like, I have, like, if you ask me what we did like 2 years ago at this day, if you give me a second, I can look up and I can tell you.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, that's part of training smart, is keeping track of all that. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you do something really smart today and a year from now you don't remember that you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Before we go, do you have any advice for young coaches, new gym owners? Anything that you've learned would do different, or just fight the good fight?
Yeah, like I say, do that for love. You know, like, jiu-jitsu has a beautiful purpose in earth, you know, like, to like change people's life. I think if the whole world would teach you, like, train jiu-jitsu, everybody would be like so good in what they do.
Yeah.
You know, like, in whatever they do, just because they do jiu-jitsu. So do that with purpose, and I always put God first, because that's my main thing, something that I always put God first in all my decisions, all my directions, and all my praise, you know, like, and fight the good battle, you know. Like, the good fighter enjoys a good battle, a hard battle. So like my dad would always tell me, like, we always gonna have problems, and if you want to be a gym owner, yeah, it's gonna be like, you're gonna have like hard times, you know. And
you might wake up at 3 a.m. with food poisoning and a flooded gym.
Yeah, and you got to take care of all that, you know. And it is not that simple. It is not that simple. But if you love it and if you have passion for that, if you do it with the purpose and not for the money, it is worth it.
Awesome. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we go?
For all my BJJ friends.
Okay. And probably for your wife too, right?
And for my wife.
Yeah. All right, Fernando, that wraps it up. I want to thank you again for taking time to come over and do this interview, and I want to thank you personally. Before we go, let's back up a minute. We're sitting in my house as we record this, which is finally done being repaired from Hurricane Harvey. When Hurricane Harvey hit our community, tell me about what the gym did.
We went after, and we tried to help as much as we can.
Yep. When I went to get sandbags to put around my house, the people that I saw at the community center putting sand in sandbags were from our gym.
Yeah. It was a hard time for me. It didn't affect me directly, but it affected a lot of people that I knew it.
Yep.
And that hit me really hard, you know, like, to see all that, and I felt that I was not at the wrong place at the wrong time. I felt that I was at the right place at the right time.
Yep. And a week or so after the flood subsided, you had myself and Ruben over to your house.
Yes.
Yeah. And at that point, that was the most normal thing that happened to me in a week. So.
Yeah, I told you that back then. Like, for you, like, to ask me for my help, it's a pleasure for me to be able to help. You know, I never closed the gym. Like, I think it hurts me so bad. And that week, like the week right after it hit us here, I was during the weekend that the hurricane hit us. Yep. And on Monday, I didn't know what to do, and I was like, you know what, I don't care if we're gonna miss student, you know, but we cannot train when all that's going on. So we closed the gym, and I tried to get as much student, like, to make a difference.
Yep.
Try to help as much as we could, and it was a pleasure to have you guys over to have dinner that night. It was awesome. It was good, and I would do that all again.
Yep. Well, it was much appreciated, and it's a perfect example of how the jiu-jitsu community works together. It's a family, so appreciate that, and again, appreciate you coming over for this interview, and we'll see you on the mat.
Thank you, Joe. I'll see you on the mat.
All right. Again, I'd like to thank Fernando for coming on the show. It was a joy having him over to my house. We did this interview in person, and it was a great conversation. Look forward to seeing him on the mats again in a day or two. And yeah, it was fun. Hope you all enjoy it.
Yeah, and definitely we always talk about if you ever get into Wichita, train with Byron and I. If you get down to Houston, definitely stop down and see Joe and Fernando. They'd definitely welcome you, and it'd be a great time.
Roger that. Yep, we're just south of Houston. If you're ever in the area, hit me up.
Guys, so we had a tip of the month. Unless Gary delivers it, then it's a week tip. Not weekly tip, but it's not very strong. And we also have a question of the month, and we're getting this question off of one of our YouTube product reviews. I've reviewed a handful of gis on YouTube, and somebody said, how many gis should I own? And that's a pretty simple question. It's your preference. If you're going to start jiu-jitsu, you need a gi. I wouldn't rush into buying a gi before you start. You go in there and talk to your teammates and try a couple of their on before class, and that way you get a non-sweaty gi. But how many gis should somebody own?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded question. I think I have about a half. One thing that I would suggest is if your school has a school gi, they have requirements. Of course, you have to go along with that. But I think you should always have a pretty plain white gi for travel. I've visited a lot of gyms, and some gyms have standards and preferences, and they'd like everybody to wear a white gi or something of that nature. I find that white just is accepted almost everywhere. So at home, I wear navy. I've got olive green. I've got black. I've got, you name it.
Tie-dye.
But I always keep well, I don't
purple,
have one of those yet, but
pink.
I hear they're pretty nice. Anyway, however many gis you have, I would suggest you add a plain white one for travel.
Yeah. So you can't go wrong with your first one being a plain white one. That way you always have it.
Yep. And then at least one spare so that if you go to the noon class and they talk you into coming back to the evening class, you don't have to worry about doing laundry last minute and trying to rush into it. And so, yeah, at least one spare.
Yeah, it depends on how often you want to do laundry. Even though I'm not a gi guy, I actually have 3 gis, and one of the big things was when I was training a lot of gi, I just didn't want to do laundry, 3 or 4 times a week because I wanted to train, every day if I could. So the more gis you have, the less you have to do laundry, which is always good.
Yeah, and I know with Gary, and it's all different. If you're asking how many gis you should have, you're probably pretty new to jiu-jitsu. But with Gary, he's got a couple extra gis where most of the guys he trains with don't train in gi. So if they're going to go attend an event in its gi, he's passing gis out to his buddies, and they're all able to attend and not have have to worry about buying a gi just to go to one thing. That's kind of nice. But really, the way I recommend this is to get your first gi, like Joe was saying. A white gi is great because it's going to always be appropriate for wherever you're at. No one's going to say, oh, you can't wear that plain white, pretty boring gi to our place. So that's always good to have on hand. And then if you're going to train, like if you train once or twice a week and there's a day between, you can get away with one gi for pretty much ever. If you're going to train 2 days in a row, because I don't dry my gis, I let them air dry and I put a fan on them. They dry almost overnight, but they're not quite 100% after the sun comes up in the morning. And if I were to pack that into a gym bag and take off with it, I wouldn't be super comfortable with that, getting dry in the gym bag. That's not a good plan. So really 2 gis, if you're training 2 days in a row, is a good system because you could alternate which one you wear. Another thing with a 2 gi system is you could have a dark gi and a light gi. So if you've got a big pile of white laundry that needs to be washed, take your white gi. It's just practical, guys. If you get a whole bunch of dark clothes that need to be washed, take your dark gi. And that way, when I get home, I'm throwing in dark clothes with my dark gi and get some laundry done at the same time. And because as soon as you get home, the gi's going in the machine and I'm starting it so I can get it out and hang it before I go to bed. I usually train in the evening, but yeah, a couple of gis is good. Yeah. Some people have like 30, and that's fine too. But that's a lot of gis, and it becomes unnecessary at some point in time.
Yeah, I will throw in another thing because you mentioned Gary having extra gis for his friends when they go to gi events. I almost always carry 2 gis with me in my gym bag, and I can't count the number of times I've lent one out to somebody who's come just to visit, just to check things out, and we're like, "Hey, you want to train?" And they're like, "Yeah, I don't have a gi," and I'm like, "Well, I got A2, and it's pretty standard." And so I've lent out gis a lot. I've also showed up at the gym one night with a new gi. And as soon as I started rolling, the crotch ripped out of the pants. So, I had an extra set with me. So I actually believe it's just not a bad idea to bring 2 gis with you when you go to train.
It's funny, Joe, because I never thought that would happen to you.
Yeah, there wasn't that from the crotch.
The one good thing about gis is, gis, no gi gear, with us being like in jiu-jitsu, we can get 2 new gis a year easily, Christmas and your birthday. So, it's easy to shop for us. It's easier for your significant other, your mom, your dad, your friends to get you a gi for your birthday and Christmas. So hopefully you can get 2 a year.
Yeah, Father's Day, your anniversary, Easter, Halloween.
Yep, Halloween. That does make, I've tried to stuff some old gis in people's Halloween bags, not baskets, but bags. And, I haven't got good reaction with that, but I'll keep trying.
Yeah, that's funny. The thing about getting a gi or a couple of gis is, I've reviewed quite a few of them. They don't really make a whole lot of bad gis. There's different levels of comfort and style that you could get with them. But if you want a pretty basic gi, it'll last you a long time. If you're wearing it once or twice a week, you're going to get years out of this thing. And in certain parts, I think pants tend to wear out a little sooner than tops, depending on how you play. But it'll last you a long time. And so really, it's not an expensive investment if you just have a couple of gis. If you're one of the people that likes to really accessorize and have like a 15 gis to choose from, and today I'm feeling like this one, or I want to wear my Spider-Man gi. A lot of times Gary will wear a gi with brown pants to hide some of his issues. You have a little bit more variety when that sort of thing happens, but hey, 1 or 2 is pretty much optimum for me. Optimal. But it doesn't hurt to have a couple extra gis laying around. I'm surprised Gary has so many.
How much should somebody look at spending on a gi?
You can get some great deals, especially when you're first starting. Shop around. You can easily find one for under $100, a beginner gi. And I know, like Joe the other day, I think it was you, Joe, but you shared the deal of the day. I think it was a gi that was a very good value. Was that you, Joe?
I share pretty routinely. We're not affiliated with BJJF, headquarters, but they have a deal of the day, and at least once a week they've got a gi that's like $75, $80 plus $5 in shipping. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I saw you share that the other day, and that's what good jiu-jitsu people do is, I'm not on that deal of the day, but I see a lot of my friends that train jiu-jitsu, Joe included, share something, and who knows, maybe I may be in the market, and that just got a company another sale, and help me out with my game, and making sure I have another gi or another rash guard or whatever it would be. But if you happen to see a great deal of a gi, share it on Facebook, share it with some people, and definitely help some people out.
Yeah, and if your coach sells gis, it doesn't hurt to support the team.
Yeah,
and,
you definitely want
get
to support
one of those.
Your team.
But
and
I think
on
you
top
can
of
easily
that,
spend $100, $150, and get a very nice gi.
Yep, and on top of that, Joe and I have a gi, that we're marketing.
Yes,
and, it's paper thin. It's made out of paper, but we are offering it for only the low price of what, Joe?
3 easy payments of $33.35 and 1 really complicated payment.
Yep,
we'll tell you how much that's going to be.
Yeah, and if you read the small print, but we've made it so nobody can read it. But just call us up, send us your credit card number, and after they foreclose on your house and repossess your car because you can't pay for it anymore because you bought the gi, we'll ship it to you.
Yeah, actually, that's the genius part of it. You email them a PDF, and they've got to print it themselves. And the paper gi is really, I think it's going to take off.
Oh, yeah, definitely going to take off.
Just print them as you need them.
Print them as you need them. You got a whole...
But each time you print them, Joe and I get some more royalties, so don't forget to send it to us.
If the crotch blows out, you could print another page and slap it on there.
Or just put a patch on it.
Put the BJJ Brick podcast patch.
How would you get one of those?
If you'd be interested in supporting the show, you can do that through Patreon, and we really appreciate our Patreon supporters. They've helped us become a bigger and better product. Most people support us with $1 an episode. It'll be charged to your credit card, and you can discontinue anytime you want, but we sure appreciate your support. If you do that, you'll get a gi patch, a sticker. You'll be invited to the Facebook private page, where you'll have easier access to ask questions, suggest interview candidates, and just interact with us there. I see we have a new member, Rodney, and we'd like to thank him for joining Patreon.
Yep, that means a lot. Thank you, Rodney. You definitely appreciated it there. Rodney, like a lot of the members, aren't on the private Facebook group. If you want to be, send me an email, bjjbrick@gmail.com, with a link to your Facebook page, because I can't find most people on Facebook. I don't know where, it's just
Byron.
Send me your link, and I'll add you to it.
Byron, just go into the top where it says search and put in a name, and then hit go.
But names are common. So I need Rodney. I would love to have you in the private Facebook group, and any of our Patreon members, send me a link to your Facebook if you have one, and we'll get you added in. Next week, guys, we have Robert Drysdale, and we get a couple of Patreon supporter questions in on that interview, so that's pretty fun. You get to ask Robert Drysdale some questions. The interview's already done and recorded, but those that were already in the group got to send in a couple questions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely don't miss Robert Drysdale. The guy's a legend. He's going to drop a bunch of knowledge to us. Also, don't forget about BJJ Brick on social media. Joe's always on Facebook, putting stuff up on Facebook. Really got a really active page. Byron's got a lot of stuff up there on YouTube, and we have a BJJ Brick app. So definitely don't miss it. Tell your friends about it, and we appreciate it.
So we already mentioned next week's episode is Robert Drysdale. Guys, this was a lot of fun. I feel we're recording at a different time than we normally do, and I think we've been on point with giving each other some stuff and
some grief
and some good transitions. I'm gonna have to order Joe a new pair of gi pants. But check us out in a few days. We'll have our regularly scheduled Monday episode. Stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, get better, guys. We'll see you on the mats.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Hey, you know what we should get? BJJ Brick shirts. Byron says, what do you say at the end?
Stay sweaty.
Yeah, and mine on the back, yours should say, stay sweaty, my friends. Mine says, and don't forget to shower. And Joe said, train hard, train smart, you know.
Yeah, but mine's the only one that might make a little sense out of context.
Mine's like,
Gary's going to walk around with a shirt that says, don't forget to shower.
Oh, like individual, like on the back of it? Just like one shirt that says,
on the front,
stay sweaty, my friends.
You know, BJJ Brick.
And we can see whose shirt sells the most.
Yeah. I think it'd be Joe's.
It's the only one that would make sense out of context. But yours might sell really good, Gary. Don't forget the shower.
Yeah, especially
where you sell it to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be. If we could find a picture to put with each one of them.
Yeah.
Have everybody vote on a shirt.